All right, welcome back to another E3NG help session, I guess you can call it. On this one, we're going to be working on the configurator. So I've gotten a few questions about how to use this and how to tell which parts you need to print, or the configuration that's associated with, say, for example, the Fabrico kit that just came out. And I just wanted to do this quick video to kind of answer some of these questions. All right, so first thing when you do when you open this is you come to this tab, the configurator tab. And this is where you're going to input all of your choices. So first things first, you want to start with your base printer. So here, if you just put the mouse over, you can see the differences between your choices. In the first picture on the left, you have your Ender 3, which requires the use of the additional printable parts that go underneath it, since the y-axis on the Ender 3 is a 2020 extrusion. In the middle, you'll see the Ender 3 Pro, which nothing additional is needed for the Ender 3 Pro, since that y extrusion is a 4040 that is 350 millimeters long. The picture to the right with the green parts is the Ender 3 V2 Y assembly, which has varying lengths. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to measure that, and then you're going to want to print two equal size spacers. I'll show you those in a minute, to make up the difference between the length of your extrusion and 350 millimeters. You don't want to print just one long one. You want to print two even ones that will go on each side. Your next option is your enclosure. So when you click on this, you have your drop down menu. And if you have the Fabrico kit, you have the hardware for the enclosure, but not the panels. So if you want to order the panels separately, go ahead and do so, and then just click on yes for the V2 enclosure. I will click on yes just so that you can see that, and on here I will pick the Ender 3 V2 so that we can see the spacers pop up in the configurator. Okay, so going forward, you have your frame option, and here you see your three options. The first one on the left is your base configuration, where if you have the Fabrico kit, you're going to pick the option all the way to the left, which is the ultimate frame upgrade. The one in the middle is the 2040 extrusion upgrade. That is only adding the aluminum extrusion upgrade for the rear parts. Okay, so if you just pick over here, if you just pick printed verticals, then you're going to be printing the base upgrade, and you're going to be printing parts that you don't need, and then you end up with parts that you have that you don't need, and you're not going to have parts that you do need, if that makes any sense. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click the ultimate frame, okay? And that's going to set you up with the right parts. Your Z-axis rod, it's just that. How many are you going to run? You're going to run 2 in the front, or you're going to run all 3. If you have the Fabrico kit, it comes with 3. So go ahead and choose 3 by 12 millimeter rods. Okay. Bed carriage options. So you have a few. You have a fully printed bed frame option, which I don't recommend. Then you have your stock Ender 3 bed carriage, which is a perfectly viable option. I run it on 2 of my NGs. And then you have your CNC bed carriage, which I highly recommend. If you have the funds to run that, go ahead and run that. It's a great option, and just keep in mind that you do need to get different bearings for the y-axis that is not included in the Fabrico kit. However, they do offer them. Also, I'll be mentioning Fabrico a lot in this video. I'm not sponsored by Fabrico. This video is not sponsored by Fabrico. I just recommend their kit. I have worked with Fabrico on going through this kit along with RH3D, and I think this is your best option for a all-inclusive kit. a lot of time, effort, and energy has gone into this, and a lot of you know, picking and choosing the right parts have gone into this in testing. I have tested this kit. Hector has tested this kit. It's a solid kit. You know, everything's going to fit, and if you ever have an issue with it, Fabrico stands behind their products. They will get you sorted out. So that's just my little caveat on Fabrico. I highly recommend them. Their customer service is awesome. And for me personally, if you cannot print ABS or ASA, I can print these kits for you. If you check my website out, I do offer a few different versions of the kit. So that's my own little self-sponsored segment. So take it, leave it, whatever. Just wanted to throw that out for you. So we're going to go ahead and, for simplicity's sake, we're going to click the stock Ender 3 build, Ender 3 bed carriage. Okay. So that's going to give you the arms and flexi inserts. Well, that's going to be on your next step. So you have your three options: no Z wobble compensation, your flexi inserts, which I recommend, and your Z wobble. You can do that. You will lose a little bit of Z height. I don't have experience with that, but you choose you. So that's going to be this option right here. You click the little drop down, you have your choices. We'll go with flexi joint. Z axis drive. All right, so this is one that brings up a lot of question, and there's a couple things to note. If you choose the CNC bed carriage, okay, pick one stepper. Do not go triple Z. Okay, you will break something. It's not going to work the way you think it's going to work. Just go with the single stepper. It's plenty good enough. I run this on my Blue NG. Super simple to set up and super effective. Just run the single Z. Okay. If you really want to get fancy with it, you can do the 3 independent steppers. Your config is going to be a little bit more involved. When you go up here to flexi joints, I would print 3 extra per arm. So print 9 of these in total. Because you're gonna break them. Okay, you're gonna break them. You're gonna set it up. You're gonna tighten the brass fittings into them, and then you're gonna just hit home, and one of your lead screws is gonna go the opposite direction of the others, and you're gonna be panicking to hit that emergency stop. Ask me how I know. Print extra, or just go single stepper. Okay, nothing wrong with that. I'm probably gonna convert my green and pink NG to single stepper when I get the aluminum bed carriage for them. Okay, so that being said, we're going to stick with one stepper, lead screw pulleys. Okay, so you have 2 options. Let's go back over that. You have your printed ones, which work. I've used them before in the past, or your aluminum ones. Again, if you have the Fabrico kit, pick aluminum, the kit comes with them. Okay, PSU thickness. Your Ender 3, the base model, comes with a thicker one. So you're going to pick the 50 millimeter if you have the Ender 3. If you have a Pro or a V2, click the 30. Okay, that's going to include the shroud. You see the little black shroud that goes around the fan. You're going to need that for it to fit the back panel. Board mount. You have options here. You have your Octopus, SKR3EZ, SKR Mini E3 V2. The V3 also fits this mount. It's just not going to populate a mount for you. Okay, you'll have to find your own mount, whether you're doing a Manta or a Mellow or a FiSec board or a different BTT board. Okay, you'll just have to find a mount. They're out there on printables. I've had good luck with the SKR Mini V3. I've never used the V2, but I'm sure it's the same as the V3. And I use the Octopus on 2 of my NGs. So we'll keep the Octopus on there. Your Toolhead. Okay. So there have been questions coming up about sizing. So what probe size do I use? What fan duct do I use? It all is contingent on the hot end you're using. So if you see here, starting from left to right, you have your small shrouds, which goes up to, I believe, it looks like the Spider, and then the E3 the E3D V6 hot end is the first one in the medium category, and then it goes up to the Rapido high flow, and then after that with the Volcano adapter and up, you'll go to your large. So go small, medium, large based on your hot end. So if we choose the Rapido ultra high flow, which is going to be the second to last one in this image to the right, that's going to be a large fan shroud and a large sensor. Okay, bed probe. So we're going to pick that. We're going to go to our extruder section. You have a lot of choices for extruder. You can choose a Bowden setup, which I have on 2 of mine. You can choose standalone, like a Sherpa Mini or Orbiter 2, and then it will just print a plate. Or you can be extra fancy and you can go with the integrated models, such as the integrated Sherpa Mini, Sherpa Micro, Hummingbird, all that stuff, and you'll have a nice one-piece looking toolhead. It won't be one piece, but it will look like it's one integrated unit, really nice and clean. My E3NG has the integrated Hummingbird with the filament cutter in it because I'm running the box turtle on that. So we will pick, for simplicity's sake, we'll go and just pick the Orbiter 2. For part cooling, if you have the Fabrico kit, stick with the 4010s. I think that's going to be plenty for you, unless you're trying to push speed benchies and then you want to go with the CPAP or whatever. But if you're trying to save money, you bought the Fabrico kit, go with the 4010s. It comes with 4010s, and I run 4010s on 2 out of 3 of my NGs, the third being the blue one, which I run CPAP on. Or if you want to buy your own, go ahead and buy the 4020s or the 5015s. Just, it's your choice. Or the CPAP, your choice. Again, we're going to stick with the 4010s because I think that's plenty. Bed probe. So you have options for the bed probe as well. I recommend the BD sensor. I run that on all of my NGs and I love it. I also sell them, so I'm a little bit biased in that aspect. However, there are other very good options. You have Beacon, which this mount will also work with Cartographer. You have your BitQ, BL Touch, Eddy Probe, CR Touch, which BL Touch and CR Touch use the same mount. Clicky Probe, which I believe the Fabrico kit comes with the items to make the Clicky Probe, PCB, Pinda, or no probe. So we're just going to stick with the BD sensor. And then your accessories. Your accessories include your accelerometer mount, your cable mount, and your breakout board. All right. Cable mount, I say, is a must. It'll clean up your wiring. If you don't, you'll just have your wires flopping around in the back. So at a minimum, print the cable mount. Okay. If you want to clean up your wiring, the breakout board's a good option. Just keep in mind you do need to solder to the JST connectors in the back and then press them in. So there's a little bit more work involved with the breakout board. However, it does work. I've used it before. And then your accelerometer mount, you can go ahead and use that. I personally I use the K USB and I just screw it to the front on the fan shroud. Okay, so that's your option. So we're going to just choose the cable guide. All right. Mods and upgrades. Everything in here is basically, you know, what you want. Everything up to this point is your necessity. The rest of it is options. Stepper cooling, self-explanatory. Do you want to add 40-20 fans to your steppers to cool them off? If you plan on pushing them, go for it. They work. Again, I run them on 2 of my printers. They work great. We're not going to do it because those fans are not included in the Fabrico kit. So we're just going to leave those out. Frame braces. You can print them if you want. If you're going to do the enclosure, I don't think that they're necessary, but they can't hurt. But you know what? We'll add them. Sure. Handles. Yes, add the handles. Okay. If you pick the enclosure, it's not going to include the spacers because you don't need them because the panels make up the space. If you're not enclosing it, then it's going to populate a couple spacers for you. So go ahead and print 4 of those spacers. But we're going to add those. LED lights. If you have the enclosure, I recommend the LEDs for the enclosure. Keep in mind, it's going to tell you to print out the LED covers, and that those need to be printed in a clear or polycarbonate type of material, something that allows light to go through. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have clear filament, you know, you're going to need some, you know, or you can just not run the diffusers. It's your call. Aux cooling. That's going to be for your side cooling. If you want to buy the extra 120 millimeter blower fan, they work really well. They're easy to set up depending on the board you're using, and they're very powerful. I have them on 2 of my printers. I don't use them. I probably could. I just don't. But I have them. They're really cool to see. They're really cool to use. But yeah, so that's an option. We're not going to add that to this configuration. Bed wiring. Okay. So this is going to add your Wago connector underneath your rear bed arm. This will work if you use the CNC mount as well. There are holes under there for the Wago mount. You're just going to choose whether you're doing no Wago because you're using your stock bed wiring, DC if you're going to rewire it so that you can remove the bed if you want to, or if you're going with AC, you have your option for there as well, which will add an extra for ground. Let's just go ahead and we'll choose AC because I like using an AC bed heater. Under bed fan. Okay, so this is for the mount to add a 6015 fan that goes underneath your bed. The Fabrico kit does come with an extra 6015 for that, so we'll go ahead and we will add that. Auto Z, which is the end probe and the end stop probe that mounts to the rear arm. If you're using Clicky and you want to try messing around with the Auto Z, go for it. With probes like the BD sensor, Beacon, Cartographer, even the BTT Eddy. If you're running the E3NG plugin, you don't need this because all those will set your Z offset for you, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and just set it yourself. We're not including this. Okay, so that is setting up your configurator. Now, to see everything that you put together, we will go over to the printed part section because that seems to be where the majority of the questions are. And if you see here, it can be a little bit confusing because it has everything listed. Everything is listed in here, even stuff that you didn't pick. So to get rid of all of the items that you don't need and only focus on the parts that you do need, we're just going to go ahead and click this regenerate/hide. And it's going to go through and it's going to eliminate everything that you don't need. So now you have everything in here that you need to print with quantities and color. Column G is your color section. M is your main color. A is your accent color. And column E is the files named in the folders, and column D is the actual name of the part, and column F is the quantity. If you scroll down, you might see in the notes section right here, these are your LED diffusers, and the note says to print in clear filament. And then down here is an extra section. There's no quantity, there's no color because this is just extra. You can print whatever you want. But these are stuff like your USB HDMI spacers, which is for the rear vents. So if you go up here, you have your side vent parts right here. There will be a little notch in one of them. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. It'll have a notch in it, and that'll allow you to run wires to, say, a screen. You have your Raspberry Pi mount. This is just for an actual Raspberry Pi. If you're using a BTT Pi, you're going to want to find one on printables. DIN rail for an SSR if you're running a AC bed. Your smaller PSU bracket for your Raspberry Pi. MOSFET if you're running a MOSFET for the DC bed. And then your Wago mounts. This looks like an expansion mount for a Big Tree Tech expansion. And then your cable glands. If you don't want to buy one, you can print one. This is a 2-part. It's a little tricky, but I think you should just buy one. I can't remember if the Fabrico kit comes with one. They're not expensive. But this is your printed part section of your configurator. If you go over to your bill of material, you can go ahead and click regenerate hide to do the same. And this should match up pretty close. It might be a little bit different because we're using different hardware, but this should match up to what you have in your Fabrico kit. All right. So if you want to verify that you have at least these items in your kit before you start taking things apart and building it, that might not be a bad idea. And then over here we have our verified kits. This is an old one because all we have in here is Fushi and Funsor. Fabrico kit is a verified kit. Again, more will be added later. I don't remember when I downloaded this, but the process works the same if you just download it today. So that is your configurator. This might have been a little bit longer than I planned, but I think that covers everything. And yeah, if you have any questions, leave a comment. For more information, you can check out these links over here. You can check the RH3D Discord. I'll also have a link for my Discord server. This is RH3D's YouTube, Instagram, and a link for donating towards the project. I believe if you join Patreon or if you donate through Coffee, you get access to the step files so that you can build along with CAD, as well as my videos that I posted, which I'll have a link in the top corner of this video to the playlist. And yeah, any questions, feel free to ask. If anything didn't make sense here, ask it in the comments, or reach out to me on Discord. So thanks for watching, and if you have any ideas for any other points of confusion with the build, leave in the comment and I'll try to address those in a future video. So again, thanks and enjoy.